Go look at the can of WD-40 sitting in your garage right now. Go ahead, I'll wait. See that thin layer of dust on the cap? That's the problem. Because you, like almost everyone, probably reach for that can about twice a year. A squeaky hinge here, a stuck bolt there, and then it goes right back on the shelf to collect dust until the next time something annoys you enough to dig it out. And here's what's going to sting a little. Half the time you do reach for it, you're using it wrong. You're spraying it on the exact things it slowly destroys, you're soaking surfaces it was never meant to touch, and you're completely ignoring the dozens of jobs it does better than the expensive specialty products you keep buying instead. That squeaky door you fixed last month? It's squeaking again, isn't it? There's a reason, and it's not the can's fault. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through 11 WD-40 uses you've been getting wrong, counted down from 11 all the way to number 1, and as we climb that list, the mistakes get bigger and the fixes get more valuable. By the time we hit number 1, I'm going to show you the single most common way people misuse this can, the one that actually causes the damage they're trying to prevent, and how the pros use it instead. But stay with me through the whole countdown, because somewhere in the middle is the use that's quietly ruining a household item you use every single day, and you'd never suspect the can was the cause. Let's get into it. Number 11, you're using it as a long-term lubricant, and that's not really its job. Let's start with the biggest misunderstanding of all, the one that everything else builds on. Most people think WD-40 is a lubricant. They spray it on a squeaky hinge, the noise stops, and they assume they've greased it. A few weeks later, the squeak is back, and they blame the hinge or the can. Here's the truth the pros know. The original blue and yellow can is primarily a water displacer and penetrant. That's literally what the WD stands for. It's brilliant at creeping into tight spots, freeing things up, and pushing out moisture. But as a long-lasting lubricant, it's thin and it evaporates. For something that needs to stay slick for months, a pro reaches for a dedicated grease, a silicone spray, or a dry lubricant instead and uses WD-40 to clean and free the part first. Once you understand that one distinction, displacer first, lubricant second, half your past frustrations suddenly make sense. And it sets up number 10 perfectly, because this next mistake happens on something in your kitchen. Number 10, you're ignoring it on stainless steel and buying pricey polish instead. You've got a drawer somewhere with a special bottle of stainless steel cleaner you paid way too much for. Meanwhile, your refrigerator, your dishwasher front, your stovetop are covered in fingerprints, smudges, and those streaky watermarks that never seem to wipe away cleanly. Here's what appliance installers and cleaners quietly do. A tiny bit of WD-40 on a cloth, wiped along the grain of the stainless steel, lifts fingerprints and grime and leaves a thin protective layer that resists new smudges and water spots. The trick most people get wrong is using way too much and wiping across the grain instead of with it. A little goes a long way, you buff it off with a clean cloth, and obviously you keep it away from any surface that touches food. Done right, it makes that expensive polish completely unnecessary. But cleaning is just the warm-up. Number 9 is about something stuck, and the way you've been doing it is probably making it worse. Number 9, you're spraying stuck bolts and walking away too fast. Picture the rusted, seized bolt that won't budge. You hit it with a blast of WD-40, grab your wrench, crank immediately, and either it doesn't move or you round off the head, and now you've got a real problem. Frustrating, right? You assume the can failed you. The professionals do the opposite of what you did. They know a penetrant needs time to do its work. They spray the seized fastener generously, then they walk away, sometimes for 15 minutes, sometimes longer for a badly rusted piece, letting the liquid creep down into the threads and break the rust's grip. Then a second light spray, then gentle pressure, often working the bolt back and forth rather than forcing it one direction. Patience is the entire secret. The can was never the problem. The rush was. Now, number 8 is one almost nobody thinks to try, and once you see it, you'll wonder how you missed it. Number 8, you're scrubbing sticker gunk and adhesive the hard way. We've all fought that battle. The price sticker that shreds into 100 tiny pieces. The label residue on a new glass jar. the gummy adhesive left behind by tape or a bumper sticker. You scrape with your fingernail, you scratch at it, you maybe gouge the surface in frustration. WD-40 dissolves that adhesive almost instantly. The pros spray a little directly on the gunk, let it sit for a minute to break down the glue, then wipe it clean with almost no effort. The mistake people make is not letting it sit long enough, or not testing it first on delicate or painted surfaces, since the solvents can affect some finishes. Give it that minute to work, and decades-old sticker residue slides right off. That brings us to number 7, and this is the one I warned you about, the everyday item you're slowly wrecking. Number 7, you're spraying it on door hinges and squeaky things near fabric and floors. Here's the sneaky one. You spray a squeaky door hinge, a drawer slide, a hinge on a cabinet, and you don't think about what's directly below it. That overspray, and the oily residue drifts down onto your carpet, your hardwood, the upholstered chair nearby, or runs down the door onto the floor. Over time, you get dark, greasy stains in spots you can't explain, and oily residue that actually attracts and holds dust and grime. The pros do 2 things differently. First, they spray onto a rag or use the precision straw to apply it exactly where it's needed, instead of blasting the whole area. Second, on a hinge, they understand WD-40 frees a stiff or rusty pin, but for a hinge that just needs quiet, longer-lasting lubrication, they'll wipe it down and follow up with a proper grease. Protect what's underneath, aim with precision, and you stop staining the very home you're trying to maintain. Now, number 6 steps outside, and it's about your tools, the ones rusting in your garage right now. Number 6, you're letting tools rust because you only react instead of protecting. Most people treat WD-40 as a rescue mission. A tool rusts, then they try to clean it. But by then, you're fighting damage that's already done. Pitting, stiffness, ruined cutting edges. You react, you never prevent. The folks who maintain tools and equipment for a living flip that mindset. After cleaning a tool, they wipe a light film of WD-40 over the metal surfaces of garden shears, saw blades, hand tools, and even bike chains before storing them. That thin layer displaces moisture and forms a barrier against the humidity that causes rust in the first place. They're not fixing rust, they're stopping it before it ever starts. Prevention is the whole game, and it costs you about 3 seconds per tool. We're into the top 5 now, and these are the misuses that cost you the most. Number 5 is about a sound that's driving you quietly crazy. Number 5, you're spraying squeaks without finding the actual source. That mystery squeak or creak in a chair, a fan, a hinge, a piece of equipment, and your instinct is to spray in the general direction of the noise and hope. You empty a cloud of product, the squeak maybe dims for a day, then returns because you never hit the actual point of friction. A pro hunts the source first. They move the part slowly, listen for exactly where metal meets metal or where the rubbing happens, and then they apply a small, targeted amount right at that contact point using the straw for precision. Then they work the part through its motion to spread the product into the joint. Targeting beats flooding every single time. You use a fraction of the can and you actually solve the noise instead of masking it. Now, number 4 is a use that genuinely surprises people because it sounds like the last thing this can should do. Number 4, you're not using it to clean and protect, only to lubricate. Most people have this confiled in their brain under one word: lubricate. So they never think to reach for it when something is dirty, gummed up, or grimy. They buy a separate degreaser, a separate cleaner, a separate everything. The pros treat it as a cleaning and protecting agent as much as a freeing agent. Gunked up scissors that won't cut cleanly, grimy tool surfaces, crayon, scuff marks, and grease on certain hard surfaces, built up residue on garden equipment. They spray, let it break the grime down, and wipe it away, cleaning and leaving a light protective layer in one motion. The mistake is mentally limiting this can to one job when its real strength is being a multitasker. Just remember to keep it off porous surfaces, plastics it can damage, and anything food-related. Now, the top 3. These are the big ones, the misuses that either cause real damage or waste real money. Number 3 involves something that moves you around every day. Number 3, you're spraying your squeaky car parts and brakes. And that's dangerous territory. A lot of people hear a squeak from their car and reach for the can like it's a cure-all. And here's where getting it wrong stops being a minor annoyance and becomes a genuine safety issue. Spraying it carelessly around certain components, and above all anywhere near your brakes, is a serious mistake. A slippery substance has no business on parts designed to create friction and stop your vehicle. What the pros actually use it for on a car is far more careful, displacing moisture from a wet distributor cap or electrical connection to help a damp engine start, freeing a stuck or rattling part, loosening corroded battery terminals before cleaning, or quieting a specific non-critical squeak with precise application. The difference is knowledge and restraint. Around anything related to braking, stopping, or critical safety systems, you leave this can in the garage and you let a mechanic and the proper products handle it. Respect what it should never touch, and it becomes genuinely useful under the hood. Number 2 is the misuse that's been costing you money for years without you noticing. Number 2, you're buying 10 specialty products to do what one can already does. Walk through your home and count the single-purpose sprays and cleaners under your sinks and on your shelves. The lock lubricant, the squeak spray, the adhesive remover, the rust spray, the contact cleaner, each one bought for one job, each one mostly full, each one money spent. Here's what the people who use this professionally understand. The real power of WD-40 isn't any single use. It's the breadth. The same can freeze a stuck zipper, quiets a hinge, loosens a rusted bolt, removes a stubborn ring left by a wet glass, cleans crayon off a wall, protects a tool from rust, and displaces water from a damp spark plug. By treating it as a true all-in-one, the pros carry less, spend less, and reach for one familiar can instead of hunting for the right specialty bottle. You haven't been using it wrong so much as using it too little, and paying for that gap every time you buy yet another single-trick product. The brand even publishes huge lists of uses for a reason. Most people know about 5 of them. And that leads us finally to number 1. The single most common, most damaging way people get this can wrong, and the thing the pros are most careful about. Number 1, you're using it on the things it actually damages: bike chains, certain plastics, and delicate surfaces. This is the big one, the mistake that ties everything together, because it's the difference between WD-40 helping you and WD-40 quietly working against you. People reach for this can as a universal yes, spraying it on absolutely everything. And there are specific things where that does real harm. Take the most famous example, the bike chain. Countless people douse their bicycle chain in WD-40 thinking they're lubricating it. What's really happening is the original formula is too light to properly lubricate a chain under load. And worse, it can strip away the heavier lubricant the chain actually needs, while attracting grit and dust that grinds the drivetrain down. Serious cyclists use it to clean and degrease a chain, and then they apply a proper bike chain lubricant. Cleaning, yes. Final lubrication, no. The same caution applies elsewhere. Certain plastics and rubber components can be degraded by the solvents over time, so the pros don't blindly spray it on every plastic gear, seal, or polycarbonate surface. They keep it off anything that contacts food. They test it on a hidden spot before using it on a finished or painted surface. And they never, ever treat it as a one-size-fits-all answer. Here's the mindset that separates the pro from everyone else. The pro doesn't ask, will WD-40 work on this? They ask, is this the right job for it? And is there something it would damage? That single shift in thinking is the whole difference. It's not about spraying more. It's about spraying smart. The people who get the most out of this can are the ones who respect what it shouldn't touch, just as much as they exploit what it can do. So here's what to do before you toss that can back on the shelf. Stop thinking of it as a lubricant and start thinking of it as a displacer, cleaner, penetrant, and protector. Use the straw for precision and protect whatever's underneath. Give it time to work on stuck bolts. Wipe a light film on your tools to prevent rust instead of fighting it later. Lean on it to replace the pile of specialty products you keep rebuying. And above all, Learn its hard limits, the brakes, the bike chain that needs real lube, the food surfaces, the delicate plastics and finishes, so you never become the person who damages the thing they were trying to fix. That dusty can in your garage isn't a once-a-year emergency tool. Used the way the pros use it, it's one of the most versatile things you own. The only thing that's been holding it back this whole time was knowing how to use it. Now you do, so go knock the dust off that cap and put it to work tonight.